Welcome back to Mornings on 2 here on The Plus, and we want to go straight to our developing news we've been following for you. Officers in Pleasant Hill have just arrested a retired police officer accused of shooting and wounding his wife.
Now that arrest ends a standoff in a shelter-in-place order that had people out of their house for hours and hours on end. KTVU's James Torrez joins us live with these late-breaking developments. And James, what can you tell us?
Well, here's how it all started. It was Thursday night that police say Chunliam Saechao, a retired police officer, former Marine as well. He's accused of shooting his wife, sending her to the hospital, shooting her with a shotgun. They were out here in this neighborhood right outside his house. His house is what you see behind me here this morning. And they tried to talk with him. They tried to negotiate with him. They said there were some cryptic tweets that they saw that they considered might have been a danger to himself, possibly a suicidal tendencies. Once they tried to have a conversation with him, once they tried to reach out to him on social media as well, he did not answer any of their commands, answer any of their comments. And then they eventually just left at one point, thinking that he was not a threat to the public. Well, they came back here at 5 o'clock last night, closing down the roads and the neighborhood once again, evacuating some of the folks who live here, not letting the folks who live here come back home. And now it's ended with this. You see the home behind me here. What you see directly in front of that house, this kind of triangular shaped thing out here, that's actually a patio set, a front patio set that collapsed, I'm assuming, when it certainly during some sort of encounter between police and Saechao here. You see the windows broken, the door wide open as well. The garage door is open. There's a car inside the garage where the trunk is open too. So at this point, we know the police officers have arrested Saechao. They took him into custody. They say as of last night, they did consider him a threat to the public. He was firing at officers who were out here this morning, firing at their heavily armed vehicles, firing with rifles, firing with shotguns as well. Keep in mind, this is a man who understands the tactics of police officers. So, you know, police say that they had to be very careful with every step that they took. Now that this scene is maybe one step forward to kind of being clear and ending, we've heard from some of the folks who have been locked out of their neighborhoods, locked out of their homes. I mean, I spoke to one family of three kids who were inside the minivan with them, a father and mother who say their youngest was 18 months old, who hadn't slept all night because they tried coming home from dinner around 8 o'clock last night. They're now just getting to come home. Had a chance to talk with them. Here's what they had to say.
We're scared.
Yeah.
Yes, because we are not from the country, actually, as you can see. So this is the first time that we can witness something like this.
Bringing you back live out here in Pleasant Hill, inside the Sherman Acres neighborhood here. Again, we are just outside of the home of the suspect who was accused of shooting his wife, sending her to the hospital. He was then accused of shooting at police officers who were out here investigating the case. You see all the police tape that is still surrounding this home here. I will tell you, all the road closures no longer in place here. The shelter-in-place order has now been lifted once again, and we expect this to be the last time that we have police out here for something like this, because they say that man now in custody as of this morning. Of course, police officers still making their way in and outside this house, following up on their investigations. You see how intense this scene must have been here. Again, patio furniture collapsed, windows broken, door propped open as well. We're seeing detectives walk in and out of the house this morning. So we are, of course, continuing to follow up on this investigation. But again, we know suspect now arrested, now in custody with the Pleasant Hill Police Department. Frank and Claudine.
Well, James, obviously a major development. We talked about this being the important first step. First, you have to resolve what is happening there, but certainly a lot of questions remain about their comings and goings. Fortunately, his wife is going to survive, but what led up to this, why police left and came back, and really kind of the chronology of how they were able to end this. Do we know when police might be releasing more information on that?
You know, there's a sergeant on scene here who kind of was answering some of my really simple questions, not going into too much detail. He said he's going to leave that up to the public information officer who was responsible for releasing information like that. But, you know, we're at this point, the major update is that this man is now arrested, now in custody. We can assume that to mean that there is no longer a threat to the public as they once might have thought would have been possible as of last night, as of this morning, now that he is away from the scene, away from home, home and now under the supervision of police officers here. So we will be touching base with the police department to see how soon we can learn more specific details. And of course, we'll keep you updated once we have that.
I can only imagine the neighborhood just glad to have it back to normal. Have neighbors been out and about? Were they asked to leave their homes too while all this went down this morning?
Yeah, there were some evacuations for some of these people. I mean, it's not just people who were coming home and couldn't get in. Some people did leave and then weren't able to come back here. And, you know, if you see police tape at the corner of your street, you're going to be curious. You want to know what's going on. And in fact, some of the folks that I spoke to Friday morning after this incident first started Thursday night, they actually didn't really know what was going on. They knew there was some crime scene. They knew that police were here. They knew SWAT team were here because they could physically see that. But they never really got the update until we talked to them or until they saw our newscast saying that there was an incident of a man shooting his wife. You know, that was the first time that they heard it when I actually talked to them about it. So certainly curiosity comes to mind when you see scenes like this in your neighborhood down the road from you. Many of the folks here who are just shopping at the plaza across the street also asking questions about what exactly is going on. But, you know, of course, we're still working with police to get the more specific details what we can share.
But certainly relief at the resolution. James Torrez, thank you so much for that update.